Coming up on today's episode, we're taking a deep dive into the mental poison known as cynicism, how it's harmful, and what healthier alternatives are out there. I'm also passing on some lessons I've learned about self-improvement and how to handle the conflicting advice that's often given in this space. And of course, a reflection on the past 2 weeks, followed by calling the shots on the next two. Up next on Themindhere. Hey, what is up, everyone? It's the guy here, and welcome back to another episode of Themindhere, the bi-weekly podcast where I talk about new knowledge I've learned, projects I'm working on, and current events. Topics may be random, but I hope that with each episode you can come away with a fresh perspective on the universe. Welcome to all of you who are here for the first time. If you like my content and want to see more, please consider subscribing. All right, so to get right into this episode, let's start with that mental poison, and that is cynicism. So what is cynicism and why is it so harmful? All right, so cynicism can be incredibly harmful because of the outlook that it shoehorns you into viewing the world. And this is different from skepticism, which can be confused because they can seem similar. But let me give you an example. Let's say the most recent Team C's challenge that's being taken on by Mr. Beast and Mark Rober. If you take a skeptical look at this, you might say, okay, what are you going to do to be cleaning the seas? Is it sustainable? Are you driving awareness? How does this help in any way to combat the crisis, right? That would be skepticism, and that's healthy. That's fine. Do we need a certain level of skepticism, especially in the world of the internet where the barrier of entry to posting information is low, but that means that spam information and thoughtless or just unrefined information can be out there. So skepticism is an important immunization effect against misinformation and diving down into conspiracy theories and falsehoods. So that is healthy. We need a dose of skepticism whenever we look at things. But cynicism is a different thing. Cynicism, a cynical view of the Team C's challenge would be something like they're saying, okay, Mr. Beast and Mark Rober are really not making an impact, and all they're doing is just generating a bigger fan base and getting more ad revenue from their videos, or they're doing other things that would benefit them more, right? And of course, this isn't entirely true, especially with the fact that most of the videos based on Team C's have a fundraiser mark, which means that all the donations that go into it are going towards the challenge itself. But cynicism and skepticism are different because notice that in skepticism, we're not questioning the intent as much. Or if you do, you're not outright saying that that they have a malicious intent. You might question it and say, okay, do they have an ulterior motive? And that forces you to do more research and not take information at face value. That's important. That is something that is healthy to do. Don't take information at face value from what's given. Add some context, more data, and parse that together, see what is actually going on. Cynicism, on the other hand, isn't taking more data. It's saying, okay, just from what we know about what could happen, you're taking a more pessimistic view that they're probably not going to be doing things in the best interest of everyone. Maybe that large corporation that put out an ad campaign for something, they're going to be doing this to generate more revenue or something like that. Oh, look, Elon Musk is going to be making robots to replace factory workers and make this dystopian future, that sort of thing, right? You're not even questioning it. You're just outright saying that, okay, this is the most likely thing, and you're taking one of the worst case scenarios, or one that's probably it's plausible, and in some ways it's something that is you can see it as something that could happen, and knowing maybe you have a certain bias against something, you'll probably automatically take that route. So, but cynicism is harmful because this can create radicalization, right? If you're, let's just take the spectrum of, let's just take the political spectrum, for example. If you're more on the conservative side, you might be seeing conservative media and watching how they talk about how, oh, the left is doing something, blah, blah, blah. The liberals are doing something with this bill, with these policies, and they want to do this, blah, 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 right? But the issue here is that notice that most of the headlines that come out and most of the opinions that are out there, the more popular ones, they're for the most part, they take the other side as this one entity, and then they're grouping it together and say, oh, look, they always act like this. So what they're doing here, this action that they're taking, must reflect our belief of what their intentions are. That is cynicism. And let's take the left side of the spectrum. You might say, oh, conservatives are stripping away these protections against people and they're aiming to do blah, 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 X, Y, and Z, right? Same thing. It's creating this radicalization where people who might be more moderate normally might see this and see this as the dominant view and suddenly go, okay, wow, it looks like that this entire group that they group together, these so-called conservatives, liberals, Republicans, Democrats are doing X, Y, Z. And then you start to alienate yourself away from the groups and you sort of spread or create a bimodal distribution of ideologies. Right. So that is something that is incredibly harmful to society, where you have this radicalization amongst groups on a spectrum, pulling towards the ends of the spectrum. So that's how it's pretty harmful for social events. Some of you might notice that, but or know about it, but this is something that I think is pretty crucial to think about, especially when we consume a whole lot of media and when we see other people talk about things. Just pay attention to whether there is a hint of cynicism in there, because that is a sort of mental poison. It poisons your worldview and creates this outlook that makes the entire world seem bad. And if you think the world is doing things terribly, that you have a perspective that everyone's doing things maliciously, then chances are you're going to find evidence that supports your worldview, and it's going to even seem even worse to you. So that's something that we want to avoid. And this can also even apply in more technical areas where you normally wouldn't think about this on a social level, for example. Let's take software development. A lot of recent developers that are coming out of school might be taking a look at legacy hardware, or not hardware, legacy software, boilerplates, and just old code, and be looking at it and say, wow, that's a big hunking mess of spaghetti code, and I want to create something new, right? But going straight in and saying that all legacy code is something that we should get rid of and rewrite from scratch is a horrible idea. And why is that? It's because that, for the most part, legacy code is there for a reason, right? The reason why a lot of things are so bloated might be because that just from the various bug fixes that have happened, you needed certain things to make sure that these bugs don't happen, right? So that's what cynicism could do, is that saying, okay, all of this old stuff needs to go, or wow, all of the or if on the flip side, you could be like, okay, these unstable new developer versions are not great, are not stable enough for our products, and we need something that is more stable for us to use. So let's go back to Windows 7 or something to be stable. And certainly you might actually have a reason to do that, but you can see how there's two sides that you can take. But cynicism doesn't discriminate against which side you take. It only forces you to discriminate against the other side, if you will. So in general, a lot of things that require some sort of rewriting can also use a bit of caution against a cynical view, right? If you want to rewrite a whole organizational structure, maybe redo a club at your school, or remake a certain type of a certain music or something like that, right? Anything that requires a whole rewrite of everything from scratch could use a little bit of thought into whether it's warranted or not. But so cynicism here plays the role in basically saying that it's not that we need to remove and rewrite. But this is not to discourage against rethinking entire stacks of technology or of an industry or organizations, right? That's, again, healthy skepticism. Skepticism is saying whether this is needed or not. Is this process of 3 approvals to get this product out necessary to actually, necessary for checking all of the errors, or can we get away with 1 and do a more thorough process to make the throughput a lot faster, a lot more, right? So that is healthy there, but it's something that that needs to be, it needs to be something that you think about before you say, let's just rewrite it from scratch. And of course, if you're learning and you want to, say, rewrite a certain API from scratch, or you want to redo a certain artistic element of a painting yourself, or recreate an instrument from scratch, then by all means, it's a good learning experience. That's not necessarily having that cynicism in there. If you have a purpose that is not to rewrite it because you think it's bad, it's to learn, then hey, it's a good experience to rewrite. But it's expensive to rewrite things, and so when you do decide to strip away fundamentals and rewrite from the fundamentals, that's something that needs to be taken account of, that it's expensive to do, as much as it's sort of almost fetishized to create something new and shiny in the industry, especially from our younger generation that's not the ones that have their own products that they created and now are legacy. It's expensive to move from legacy to new. So think about that. But cynicism, again, is something that would sort of drive you to do that, to rewrite and create from scratch without needing to, forcing you to reinvent the wheel without necessarily needing to. So keep that in mind with how cynicism works there, and make sure that instead of cynicism, if you do want to, maybe you're an engineer or someone that likes to find the little bits of improvements that need to be made, take a more skeptical view, not cynical view. So hopefully that will help out how you see the world around you. All right, so with that out of the way, let's talk a bit more about something more cheerful, and that would be the self-improvement journey that I've been coming along. And some of the advice that I wanted to pass on, some lessons I've learned here, are about the conflicting views in the self-improvement space. And there are 2 that really sort of go against each other. One is that you often get the advice to live in the moment, to be yourself in the moment and do things while you can, for example. That's something that seems like it's good advice, right? That you can't bog yourself down with future worries and anxieties. You just have to do right now, execute and get things done, to enjoy what you have at the moment, something like that, right? And by itself, this is fine. Now, the other side of this would be to make sure you have a plan, right? The analogy that often happens here is that you're going onto a sailboat, for example, and then you ask the captain where you're going, and they're saying, oh, somewhere over here. Okay, where is that? A little closer to there, but still over in that direction. It's like, okay, where exactly is that, right? So the analogy that they're trying to implement here is of making sure you have a plan, a goal, and a plan to get there. So that would be long-term planning, making sure that you have everything planned out so you can keep track of whether you're off track. And because if you don't know where you're supposed to go, you can't say that you're not going in that direction, right? So knowing which direction you're going and having a plan and all of that. And then they talk about, 5-year plan, 1-year plan, quarterly, monthly, et cetera, right? That also by itself is something that is a good advice to give. But now you can see how those two are combating each other, right? One is to enjoy the moment, to get things done in the moment, absorbing yourself with what you have right now, and the other is long-term planning. Now, I want to say that this actually isn't conflicting, but a lot of people take it at face value and it seems conflicting. Now, why is that? Because we want to take these advice as an ultimatum. We want to take it as the only advice you take. And for everything you do, you have to do a plan. Or for everything you do, just feel it in the moment, see if it works, and go with it, kind of thing, right? But that's actually kind of a false dichotomy. You don't need to only take one advice here. You can, the point of these tools here, these are really just tools for how you can create a better life. One is long-term thinking, one is short-term. One is a bigger horizon, larger scope, more time, and one is a shorter time horizon. These are not conflicting ideologies. These are tools to help you in achieving what you want to achieve. And it's really more nuanced because there are certain times when you need to be executing, right? When you need to get this project done, think about this project only. Stop thinking about what you have maybe tomorrow with a date that you have or another meeting that you got to get to. You just want to finish this project right now. So it's important that, and when you're trying to get things done, you think you shorten the time horizon and you reduce the scope to what you really need to be doing right now. Forget everything else. You're going to be needing to focus here. But then in periods of time when you are planning out your week, say at the end of the week or the beginning of the week, when you want to say, okay, what do I want to get done? That's when your time horizon needs to expand a little. And you do want to be keeping track of the goals you have, the plans that you have planned out, and whether you're keeping on track or not. These are not conflicting advices. These are tools to help you along the way. Both are important. But if you only take one and just go to the extreme with it, right? Planning your day to the nitty gritty, and then then you start worrying about, in 43 minutes I have to do this, but according to my schedule here, I'm only 20% of my way into this project, and I've only got 10% of what I need to get done. That will really start getting to you, and you'll lose focus and just the efficacy of your work. On the other hand, if you only focus on what you want to do right now, chances are you'll start drifting off into random places, and before you know it, you'll be like, hey, I didn't want to be here. But then you ask yourself, okay, where did you want to be? You didn't have a plan, right? So you can't really say that you didn't want to be here because you didn't really have a want in the first place. So that's important here, is that when you get these two advices and when you start to think about what you need to do to improve yourself, think about these two time horizons or two ends of the spectrum of long-term and short-term as tools to help you. Both are necessary. When you are working on something, shorten that time horizon, focus on what you need to do right now, and worry about that later after you finish that task or with that time segment that you've allotted. Then, but between each task or something, you can say, okay, how on track am I during the day? Do I need to move things around? Do that planning and then head into something else, and then focus on that only. Once you get what you need to get done, whether it's time-based or achievement-based, get that done and then get to that planning. So use both of them. Don't take that as two conflicting advices as it may seem to be at first. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what I've felt about my progress in the past 2 weeks. Last episode, actually, I called a few shots out on what I wanted to do. I said that the first week after the episode, I wanted to, I wanted to finish up my website and get my habits under control. And then the next week, I wanted to start up streaming. So Unfortunately, with the website, I didn't make much progress at all with that. So that's something that I let slip. And I want to say that I had other priorities. And for the most part, that is pretty true. I did have other priorities, and just within the time that I have, I wasn't able to get in any time working on that website, because for the most part, other projects take priority. Work, anything that's school related, or even just personal projects like, again, the streaming and video content, put that as priority over my website. So that has been, can be an excuse, but it's also no excuse that I didn't fully get my habits under control. I did improve in the areas of exercise. I've been averaging maybe 3 exercise sessions per week. I really want to aim for 5, but there are certain things I need to sort out, one of them being the streaming that I'll talk about a little later. But sleep is something that has improved, but I really need to get a consistent sleep schedule down, and one where I can get enough sleep. I've been hitting more days where I've been waking up when I want to, which is before 6, so I have enough time in the morning before work to get productive things done, because after work, I totally don't want to do anything at all. Completely drained from my internship and work. So that's been some progress there with regards to habits, but I still need to improve on that for sure. And with the next week that I was talking about with the streaming, I actually decided to go with a modded Minecraft Let's Play series. If you've been following along on the channel, you might have noticed that I've been posting more frequently and videos of a different kind. And that's because I decided that instead of streaming, I wanted to start this Minecraft series of a mod pack that I was playing and quite enjoyed. And mostly it's because I got into it and felt that it was something that I really liked, and it's a pretty niche area out there. Although funny enough, I was on the Reddit subreddit for this mod, for the mod pack, and there was someone else that was also starting the series around the same time. So we sort of connected over that, but there's a little niche there, and I thought that was something that I could improve on. And it forces me to think of things in a new way. The first few videos that came out, I just realized how different it is from these podcast videos and how different it is from streaming, which, funny enough, I've done more of than making Minecraft Let's Play videos. With YouTube videos, you have to be more refined, a lot more cuts. The edits really add a lot more. With streaming, you don't edit and everything just goes on, and you're sort of expected to ramble and keep going. But with YouTube videos, you kind of need to have a plan for what you want to do, and then you need to really start cutting things out, because no one wants to really watch an hour-long video, which is how long the first episode is. But I've been cutting that down to get it to around 20 to 30 minutes per episode. And also the video editing effects add a lot more to these more refined videos. They're a YouTube video for a reason. If people wanted to watch a continuous gameplay, then you would go to streaming. So that's something that I'm learning there, but I'm quite enjoying it so far. And the schedule will have to change a little bit, because I've allotted time on the evenings of Tuesdays and Thursdays to make some gameplay there. But then after that, I've only really got time to do recording before I need to head to bed. But then I'll be able to, in the morning of Wednesday and Friday, edit the videos out. And if I can get it done in the morning, then I'll be able to release it while it's just uploading, and while I get everything set up so that it can be scheduled to release sometime in the morning. If not, then I'll come back at the end of the day to release it. But so Wednesday and Friday will be the release schedules for the series. So if you're interested, go to my channel and go to the playlist. You'll find one that's called the Terra Firma Rescue Let's Play. That will be the series that's going on there. So if you're interested, go check that out. That's something that I've started. But I'd say that progress this week has been substantial, but there are definitely areas that I could use some improvements on. Mainly, the fundamental of habits will sort of exponentiate the progress, right? If I can get better sleep down, and if I can, allot my time better, then I'll have more time to do self-improvement, to get my goals achieved. So that's what I'll be working on. That's some reflections of the past 2 weeks that I've had. And last but not least, we have the section about calling the shots out and what I want to do next 2 weeks before the episode. Like last week, I mentioned that I wanted to get my website done. I'm going to say that I'll have enough time and enough foresight and planning and getting my habits down enough that I'll be able to get the website updated, refreshed, mostly just the content, but updated, refreshed, and out by the before the next episode. And really, it's not too much work because most of the structure is already there. I'm not redoing the website from scratch. If you listened from the earlier part of this episode, I'm not rewriting it. All I'm doing is just adding more content, some updates to the information on there. Right. So it shouldn't take too much work, but it's something that I need to allot time to nonetheless. And what I also want to do is continue to keep up a good schedule and to keep a consistent upload of the new series that I'm going on. I want to be consistent with this, and I want this to be something that I can really learn from. So I want to keep a consistent Wednesday, Friday schedule. Either it's going to be somewhere around 10:30 Mountain Time, or it's going to be later in the evening if I don't get it done in the morning. But so that's the plan for going on the next week. Get my website updated, which unless you're taking a look at the website, you probably won't notice until I upload the next episode and talk about how that progress went. But you'll definitely be seeing the new videos that are coming out. I'll likely, once I get the formula down, or at least get it more refined in a way that I like, I'll notify people about the new series on the channel. And I'm actually getting a decent amount of new subscribers. I'm at 157 last time I looked, which is incredible. I'm really thankful that people feel that the content I create is good enough that they would want to subscribe. So appreciate that a lot. But so that's what's going on for the next 2 weeks. Anyways, that'll wrap it up for this episode here. Thank you all so much for your support. I appreciate the support that everyone has been giving me throughout this process. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them down in the comments section below. If you found this video to be helpful to you, consider liking it on YouTube if you're on YouTube. And if you think that this series is something that someone else would enjoy, or if you think that the content I create is something that you would like, consider sharing this with other people, and consider subscribing to me to let other people know that what I make is something that would be worthy of their time. Anyways, thank you all so much. Take care, stay humble, and I'll see you all in the next episode.